Hi, everyone. My name is Julie, and I have a really awesome, cool, special guest today, Chris Shelton. He is a former Scientologist. He has his Master of Science in Coercive Control. There's only one university in the world right now that is offering this, and he has gone there and he's taken it. How I came across Chris was initially when I had interviewed Susan Dones, one of the whistleblowers from NXIVM, known as the NXIVM 9. And I was doing my research, trying to figure out like questions to ask her because I really wanted to do it right. And I came across Chris's podcast and an interview with her. And then I hadn't really followed his content, but then he came up again in my feed on YouTube. And he had done an interview with Alanda Carter, the recovering Hunbot, and him and John Atack did this awesome interview. And he was talking about MLMs and cults. And then I was so excited because I thought, oh, here's somebody who's been out of Scientology. You were in it for 27 years and speaking out in a way that's outside of MLM, but with this other perspective that people that are leaving MLM, we fight people saying, well, it really wasn't that much of a cult. I mean, it was culty or cultish. And so hearing you speak about that, I was so excited. I felt validated and I knew others would too. And then I found your interview with Robert Fitzpatrick. And so that's why I'm like, I have to reach out to you and I'm just going to see if you're open and give you an out. So welcome to here, Chris. And please, I wanted to launch this off and just kind of let you go. Because my focus is on helping people recover from being in a multi-level marketing company, knowing that these recruitment tactics are so similar, like across cults, and especially about coercive control. So it's all yours.
Okay. Hey, hun. Yeah, MLMs are awesome. This is a whole thing. I guess I'll lead with, I was in Scientology for a lot of years. And all those years really just kind of prepped me for trying to help people out of these things now. I mean, that's really the deal. I grew up in Scientology and coming out of that 10 years ago and kind of breaking it apart and figuring out what happened, it became clear after about a year or two that I was looking at a framework of control. And that same framework that's used in Scientology, I came to learn is the same that is used in multi-level marketing, in large group awareness trainings, in religious and non-religious situations. I have found that there are cult leaders, you could say, who take over martial arts dojos, who take over acting classes. Anywhere there's people, who can be taken advantage of, you will have predators. And predatory people are people who see you and me as prey. We're the people to be taken advantage of, and they're the ones to be enriched from us, from our hard work, from our emotional dedication, from our finances, from our bank accounts, from our social networks, because we bring them more prey to take over, right? To prey upon, to manipulate and control. And so I learned that the way you go about controlling people or manipulating people or engaging in, what we might call thought reform is the same from place to place to place. There's only so many ways to fool people, in other words. There's only so many ways to influence them. And once you kind of hit on that, you realize that it's happening in lots of different places. And how it happens in Scientology, or how it happens, back in the day at Enron, which was the business that turned into a cult, or how it happens with multi-level marketing, same stuff. And that was a really powerful moment for me because it helped me in my own recovery out of Scientology and realizing that L. Ron Hubbard wasn't anybody special. He's just another jerk, right? He's just another manipulator. He's just another predator. And the way he goes about, preying on people is exactly the same as how the MLMs will do it. They make you all these promises. They make you all these, you have all these ideas that you're going to make a lot of money with this, that you're going to get a lot of success with this. And you're usually in a position when you start with this of need, some kind of, you're fulfilling a need. Otherwise you wouldn't do it. If you had all the money you needed, if you had all the social connections you had, if everything was fine, why would you pursue something like that? So there's a need being looked for and fulfilled, or at least they tell you it's going to be fulfilled. Like, I'm curious, what was your intro to your MLM?
It was Mon 8, the hair care. It was known as the hair care company, like that makes your hair fall out. But I purchased it as a product first. That's how I got sucked in. I saw a friend that I never had seen her post anything like that on social media before. And I thought, well, this must be, I never seen her behave like this, but I trust her. I should just try this product. I like the product, but I was added to a group on Facebook where I thought, this is so helpful. All these people are answering each other's questions. She's giving me tips on when a sale is coming. And then I thought, I had people compliment me on my hair. And so then I thought I should sell this. And then immediately I was in. And so I had been looking for a job. I couldn't find work. I had had a disastrous interview. I thought I had like totally knocked it out of the park. And again, it like failed. And so I thought this was an answer. I thought that the universe was aligning. And it's like, oh, it's amazing. This shampoo, it's like, it's been in, the solution has been in front of me all this time.
Right. Exactly. And it looked so awesome, right? It looked so incredible. It looked like an opportunity that actually made you feel good.
Oh, I felt thrilled. And once I got in from being, this is interesting because I've never pieced this together until you just asked that question. Because I had felt so like hopeless and depressed about not being able to find work. When I got in, when I purchased the biggest product pack and I was welcomed into the team group, I felt so good because everybody was greeting me. They took a picture of me. They said, welcome to our newest market partner, Julie Anderson. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. This is unlike anything I've ever experienced.
Exactly. There it is. We call that an awe or euphoria experience. Awe as an AWE, right? Like, oh, yeah. like it's this amazing experience. I mean, you could literally compare it in some ways to a religious epiphany, to a come to Jesus moment. I mean, I don't mean to make light of anybody's religious beliefs here. I'm just saying the feeling that one gets is out of this world. It's really, you know, in Scientology, we would say we were blown out of our heads because we thought, you know, spiritually we could disconnect from our bodies and exteriorize and, oh, it feels so amazing, you know, and this whole sort of emotional surge that occurs is, that's the hook. That's how they get you. It's not the product. It's not the promises. It's that feeling that you're experiencing of welcome, community, support, right? We call this love bombing. This could also be referred to, a classmate of mine came up with another term for it, manipulative kindness, because it's all with an agenda. Kindness for kindness sake is wonderful. It's one of the most fantastic things we can do is show compassion and kindness to people. So, and it's all too rare in this world, to be honest. So we crave it. And it is an emotional need we have. We want sociality. We want community. We want support. We want friends. We want a social network. And that's so strong in us that it is called, it's an emotional need. And those are the kinds of things that they go after and hook into you, and you're feeling very fulfilled. The whole point of our lives is to fulfill those emotional needs. So it goes right in line with that. And if you feel that way, you of course, it's so incredible, it's so awesome that you kind of shut down your critical thinking. You kind of shut down, oh, well, maybe I should ask a lot of questions right now. No, I don't want to ruin this. I don't want to ruin this moment. I don't want to make this, I don't want, you know, you kind of feel a little bit like kind of walking on eggshells a little bit because it's new and it's an opportunity and you don't want to blow it. And they just hook you in. This is called cult recruitment. And this is how it's done. And I'll tell you something interesting is in multi-level marketing, they really try to, well, let me ask you, was it your experience that they wanted you to really exploit your social network, like get all your friends on board, all your family even, they all need this product, you need to get them on? Was that this kind of spirit of the thing?
Absolutely. I also, when I was in Mon 8, I then became like recruited into another cult, which is called Rank Makers, which I'm very vocal about speaking out against. And it's interesting when you talked about that emotional hook, because when I got into that, it was another like all like you're welcomed into this group. It's a special exclusive group. And it was through both Mon 8 but particularly Rank Makers. It's you have a hot market, a warm market, and a cold market. Your hot market are anybody that, you know, really close people to you that you could just pick up the phone. This is how it would be taught to us. Pick up the phone and just say, hey, I have this new opportunity. You got to sign up. And they're like, tell me what I need to do. That's considered like having a close friend or like somebody that really trusts you. But it's so exploitive. But I didn't realize it at the time. Then warm market are people that aren't as suggestible, or just you'll order them and then they'll purchase. And we were taught to go through all of your contacts, every single person that you're friends with on Facebook, go into your Facebook friends list and contact all of them. Your family should support you, but if they don't, well, then that's just because they are wanting to hold you back because you're growing so much. They want to keep you in the box, and strangers are going to support you more than your own family.
There it is.
Exploiting it. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. And they're laying so much groundwork there. There are so many little traps in everything you just said. This is a calculated activity. Let's make no mistake. This is really a lot of time and a lot of effort goes into figuring out exactly what words to use, exactly how to exploit your social contacts, and that, you know, and layering them out and categorizing them and all that. And then immediately telling you anybody, your family especially, who doesn't support you in this is your enemy. It's us versus them. We're the good guys, and anybody out there who doesn't agree with this is stopping your expansion. That's a Scientology phrase too, by the way, straight out of there. And they have labels for this, and people might have heard of some of this if they've looked into it. As suppressive people who are trying to suppress you. That Nexium took that too. They loved that concept, and that's an L. Ron Hubbard invention. Suppressive people, but it's the exact same concept, because they have to set it up so that if you're hearing any criticism or any questioning or any wait a minute, well, let's look into this a little bit. If you're hearing any of that from anybody, they got to shut that down. So they characterize it as they're your enemy. They're the bad guys. They're trying to stop you. Well, they're trying to stop you from being an idiot, but you know, that's called being a friend. That's called being a caring family member. You would do that for them if you saw them jumping off a cliff. So they're not your enemy, but they're positioned that way. And you're convinced because you're still in the euphoria of it. I'm telling you, this is so powerful because it shuts down your critical thinking, right? And there's a whole bunch of science behind that we don't have to get into today. It's really interesting stuff. And this is all the cult recruitment stuff. And they bring you in slower, and you know, it's a slow, gradual process. It's not necessarily like on day one you're a fanatical follower. They build it up, and you get more and more and more sucked into this thing because you have this amazing opportunity if only you can manifest it, if only you can make it work. That's the other lie, because you're never going to make it work, because the system is designed to fail you. And Robert Fitzpatrick literally dissected this so brilliantly in his book. And I as you mentioned, I interviewed him. It was a fascinating interview. I was absolutely blown away by the entire history and the sort of structure of this. Because it's a numbers game that they throw numbers at you and it looks good, but they're fudging all those numbers around. They're, you know, as we know, they do this on purpose, and it's this whole pyramid schemey kind of thing. So they have to fool you by making it look and sound like it's something it's not. And it's only after you have, I mean, it's been the experience I've seen, at least with many of the MLM, I'll call them survivors.
Yes.
You know, it's just the same experience with them as it is with ex-cult members, cult survivors. Yes. You've come out of an experience. You go in willingly, not knowingly, but willingly, thinking you're going in for one thing. But in fact, you're going in for something else entirely. And, you know, you're thinking you're going on the fun ride. no, you're going on the horror house to hell, right? That's where you're actually going. And they're going to take all your money and they're going to exploit all your resources, and then they're going to leave you there. And then you're just left by the side of the road and you got nothing. And, or, accept bad memories and a lot of feelings of guilt and a lot of feelings of responsibility and and regret and wondering what just happened. And often another thing they'll do, and this is no different in Scientology, is they will make it out that it's all your fault, that their broken system didn't work.
Yes.
Right? They conned you. And the last bit of the con to protect themselves so that you don't go after them is to convince you all the way along the line that you're the one who's in the driver's seat the entire time and your success is 100% dependent upon you and your hard work. And so you come out of that thinking, I didn't work hard enough. I wasn't putting the right thoughts out into the universe. I wasn't doing the right things. I somehow didn't promote enough. I didn't make enough videos. I didn't talk to enough people. All this self-blame, and none of that, I'm telling you right now, none of that is true. Not one bit of it. You worked your ass off. It had nothing to do with your lack of hard work. It had to do with the fact that that system was designed to make you fail and enrich the guys at the top. They're the ones who got the money. And you got left with the check. And that's the multi-level marketing scheme that I am familiar with in a nutshell across the boards. Every one of them. I have yet to find one that doesn't fit this description, this model, this bill. What do you think? How's your look at this over the last couple of years since you got out?
Exactly what you've said. They're structured. It's weird because I've just kind of, you keep having these realizations where you start putting things together and you understand it more. I described it as like feeling it in my body. I'll know it in my head. Like, this is a scam, but I don't really get it yet. So there's this weird uncertainty. But when for example, the Direct Sellers Association they're going to be going up to Capitol Hill to schmooze with politicians purchasing favors and talking about how much money this industry, which it isn't an industry, it's a racket, but how much money this industry is making. That money, those statistics they're showing are the losses of over 99% of people. They flip the statistics on its head. And the same is happening in Canada as well. The DSA Canada will show statistics over 80% of people are women that are involved in Canada. It's a higher number than even in the US. And they'll say, look at how much money this is generating. It's the losses. As soon as I started to, when I woke up, I started to like self-educate, was watching documentaries and listening to podcasts, looking at anti-MLM content. Then I got into the cult recovery community. It's just like I've talked about, it feels like a trap door would open and I'd like be falling through space. And I'm like, okay, I figured it out. And it's like, no, there's more to learn. And when I'm like, they're all the same. They literally are all the same because the blueprint is Amway.
Yep.
And they're all, so yeah, that's what I've learned. And once you see it, it's quite obvious. But I've had to learn it multiple times. Yeah.
But you have to take it apart. And once you do, you won't unsee it. Once you see it, it's there. And you're like, oh, I get it.
Yes.
But there's so many smoke. There's so much smoke, so many mirrors being put in front of you at the beginning. And as you're proceeding in, it's this sort of labyrinth. And they've made it out like it's this very cozy, wonderful path to success. And it's not. It's literally a straight shot into the sewer. It's so awful how manipulative this stuff is. And when we talk about manipulation, of course, we go right over into coercive control. And I can't not mention that, right? Because it's what this is all about. It's isolation, it's manipulation, and it's control. These three elements are the things that make up what we call coercive control, where you are being coerced. You're being convinced against your will or against your knowledge or against your better common sense to do things that are not good for you. You are being manipulated. And the isolation comes in because they don't want you talking to your family. They don't want you talking to your friends about this, right? Again, immediately that shutdown. That's the isolation part. They've got you. They're the sole source of information about this thing. Don't go looking on the internet. Don't go reading the interviews. Don't go watching all the videos, because they're just going to deflate your purpose and your drive, and they're just going to, there's negativity. You don't need that negativity in your life. You need positivity. You need positive thinking. You need, go, go, go. All of this is very carefully crafted scripting. This is not this is not an accident. It's about appealing to those emotions that you're feeling. That's where they want to keep that going for as long as they possibly can. And this is not a momentary thing. This can go on for weeks or months, that you can feel like just like I am on it, and you're feeling so powerful and so enabled. And you're the one generating that, by the way. That's within you. You can do that all by yourself. You don't have to have some manipulator selling you this stuff. If you have that much energy and that much go, 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 you can put that in a positive direction. The MLMs are preying on your go, go, go for their purposes. And it's I don't know what other word to use, but evil. It's just so wrong what they're doing. And you made the most perfect point there. All their gains are all of everybody's losses. And who's gaining? How many people are we actually talking about when we get up to the DeVos family or some of these other power players in this industry? We're talking about a small number of people. And that's all by design. And we've come to learn through Robert's work and through so many ex-MLM survivors, that even the guys who are on the stage, the men and women who get up on stages at these events and talk and go, 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 not the top guys, the guys you think are the successful middle level guys. Most of those guys are bankrupt. They're just on the edge of like losing everything. And they're so desperate to make this thing work that now they're on stage trying desperately to make you their product. Because the thing you're selling isn't the product. I mean, we all know that at this point, right?
It's the opportunity.
That's right. Well, you become the thing that is the product. It's kind of like social media, right? We all thought social media was all about connections and relationships and meeting your friends from high school and all of that. And we thought this platform was enabling a connections, setup, where we were being fed ads, and we thought, oh, that's no big deal. What's the problem, right? No, you were the product the entire time. All of your data, your personal information, your clicks, your attention is the product. And that's what they're actually trading and making money on. And we never really quite got that for a few years with social media. It's the same thing with MLMs. They're selling a product, but nobody cares about those products. It's you selling the products that they're selling. You go, go, go. That's the product of the top level guys. Because as long as they have people, and the reason I say this is because as long as they have people who are doing that for them and sending them money by the bucket loads, they're rich. They're good. They're good to go. They don't have to worry about improving their cleaning solution or their skin cream or their muscle drink or something. That's just something that's just an excuse to get you excited to sell something, so you'll be their product. I hope that makes sense.
It does, and I've never thought about it in that way. It's been finding the language to explain what I've gone through without bolstering multi-level marketing, not calling it a business, not calling it an industry. When I'm like, I was part of the MLM industry for 5 years, I'm like, fuck, cancel that. I don't want to say that anymore. But then shit, I just lost my train of thought. This is the other thing. I'm so sorry.
No worries. Not at all. Not at all. And you're absolutely right. It's a good point, because the language matters, and it is the MLM criminal enterprise. I mean, might as well call it that, because that's what it basically is. Yeah. And it can be a real mess trying to sort it all out, because you end up feeling like, well, what do I have to do? Take this whole industry apart or something? And it's like, well, no, let's just start with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the recovery from it is an awful lot like the recovery from a cult. And there's an awful lot. The first barrier that I've found with people in all the interviews and work I've done on it is getting past the denial stage, right? Because there are these 5 stages of grief we talk about. They're really just not 5 stages of grief. They're 5 stages of acceptance. It's how you come to an acceptance of something. And anger and denial are at the top of that list. And denial is very, very powerful. And so a lot of people will be stuck in a headspace where they are denying that it was the MLM that did this to them, that they were taken advantage of, that they were manipulated. And I think one reason why is because a lot of people don't want to necessarily feel like they've already been crushed, and now they have to have their ego crushed too by admitting that they were conned, that somebody successfully lied to them and took advantage of them. That can be hard to accept. Especially when you're so all in. But that's what happened.
Yeah. I had my thought come back to me finally, and I wrote it down when you were talking. When you had said about you are the product, and then I had said, oh, or what is the product? And I had said the opportunity. So when I was trying to find, and then you were like, you are the product, and then you expanded on that, and it was like I hope that makes sense. And it does, because that's the first time I've heard it. I've kind of heard like pieces of that from people, but predominantly the discussion is it's the opportunity. That's what's hidden. But it is, but it's more like we are the product. And I did an interview with someone when she talked about, she became like a walking billboard for the product.
Right. That's my point. Exactly. Is the person who is sold on selling. That's what they're trying to create. Yeah. They're not trying to create more product. If they were serious about selling their products, they would get them in stores. They would get distributors. They would do what you do when you have products to sell to millions and millions of people, is you'd get them out through standard distribution networks, not through personal networks on social media. Everybody can't be a salesperson. I mean, Robert breaks this down so brilliantly when he shows you that there is no such thing as infinite expansion of a product. Not everybody wants the product, for one. And two, distributorships are modeled and set up the way they are for a reason. You only need a couple distributors. You don't need thousands and millions of them. And the very idea that you could set up a system that way is foolish. Did you know this actually is very similar in Scientology, believe it or not, because they have a whole commission system for salespeople, Scientologists, who they are trying to convert over into salespeople the same way MLMs do. They call them field staff members, or FSMs. And this is the label they'll give to a regular Joe Blow Scientologist who goes out and is a walking billboard for Scientology and tries to get other people in. And 75% of the people who come into Scientology, at least according to the numbers I saw when I was still in, 75% come in through friends and family. We talk all about the personality tests and the stress tests and all the things they do to get you on the street. But the number one thing, 3 out of 4 Scientologists got there because friends or family that they trusted told them, this is the shit, right? This is it. This is the stuff you need. And they came in. I mean, hell, that's how I got in. I'm a 2nd generation member. My family got me in. So that trust factor is, again, what they are manipulating. They're taking all the hard work you've done in your life to create social connections and trust with people, and they're exploiting the hell out of it. That's not how you sell things. That's not how you do things in the real world. But that's how the MLMs tell you to do it. And that's why you end up with broken social relationships. You know, that's why things break up. Yeah. So it's pretty nasty stuff when you think about it. It's like very premeditated, stuff. But it opens. It's interesting bringing these two worlds together. And I'm really happy to talk to you and others about this, because I want to bring these two worlds together of cults and MLMs, because they're the same world. They just have different labels connected with them. And so often I'm finding, and as you told me, people who survive this stuff don't connect those dots. They see it as a business opportunity. They didn't do it right. And it's on them. Just like if I went and did a startup and it failed, well, it's the same thing. No, it's not the same thing. It's not even remotely the same thing. You having a bright idea of your own, producing a product, going out and getting it produced in mass as a startup, getting a loan, going to town, distributing it, in stores or on the internet or through Amazon or whatever. That's your gig. That's how businesses happen. What MLMs do is a pretense of that. It's a fake illusion of that. And that's why you can't think about it the same way, because it's not even remotely the same way. And with the MLMs, when you fail at that, which is the expected result, by the way, you can't blame yourself because it's not your fault. It never was going to work out. And that's the hard pill to swallow, I think, for a lot of people. Maybe is damn, this was just never going to work, and they can't quite accept that, or see that. And that's why I think the education after the fact is so important, like Robert's work and this kind of stuff. What do you think?
Yes, when you wake up, you're starting to realize what you've been part of. You have to then realize that there's a rush to say, well, there was a silver lining in it. I'm so happy and grateful for all these positive experiences that I have dealt with. And before the healing has even begun, before you've even admitted what you've been a part of. So then in order to even accept that this, you were scammed, it's like, wait a second, you mean all this personal development was also bullshit? You mean all this stuff that was landmark forum, where I was like, what the fuck is this now? I thought this was something totally different. Now I have to unpack that. I have to unpack like Napoleon Hill, all of this becoming like the 5 people that you spend the most time with. That's not true either. What do you mean? So then it's just trying to be, and then it attracts so many people when you turn into this, when you're in MLM, that you want to accept responsibility for everything that happens to you. That can be a good thing, but it's used against you. So just even being able to come to that point, to have that awareness that it wasn't your fault. You have to fight all of that training, hours many of us spent writing affirmations. I'm so happy and grateful, like casting this vision for the future, pages of it, and saying, and write in detail what your life is going to be like when you are at this certain rank.
Yeah.
Let go of all of that, the journaling, the gratitude, because you're supposed to be grateful. It's like, well, how do I? And then there's the religious part too. A lot of people's faiths, especially Christianity in MLMs, is being exploited. How to unravel that. And then when you come out, you're like, okay, I'm like out of MLM. In your interview with Robert Fitzpatrick, this was another thing that just like blew my mind, was how he's talking about the American dream and how that's entrenched in culture. So it's like, it's already paved the way for this acceptance that this, you work hard, you're going to, and you believe in yourself and you're consistent and you just never give up, you're going to achieve this. So it's just, you're fighting to be seen or to have people understand, and then even to find the words to explain it in a culture that doesn't yet fully understand it. They're still like in MLM mode.
That's right. Well, that's exactly right. That's so spot on. And coming out is hard. I mean, I've been out of Scientology for 10 years after being involved with it for, 27. I mean, working for the church and all of that. So I was in for a long time. And coming out of that is not a couple days, couple weeks, couple months, and you're all good. It just, I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way. I wish it did. But the fact is that when you are coercively controlled, when you are isolated and manipulated to that level, that your whole life is being taken over by this thing, well, it didn't all happen to you in one day. It's not all going to go away in one day. It's going to take some time, and there's going to be some work there. And I think that those 5 stages are really, really helpful. If anybody's not familiar, you should look those up because they are very, very interesting. And again, it's not just applied to grief. I'm not talking about grief here. We're talking about getting past a life experience that was traumatizing, that was scarring, that had lasting consequences on your finances, on your relationships, and on your very self-worth your ego, your sense of self. This is what this is preying on. And recovering that, coming back from that, means understanding what happened to you, understanding how it was done, and arming yourself so that it doesn't happen again. Because then you can come back and heal in a position where I'm in a power position now. I can recognize when people are trying to do this to me. And you can watch, you can look back. We can all look back and see the red flags. We can see the things we missed sometimes. If you can't, that tells me even more that education is really important. You got to figure out how this stuff works. Otherwise, you're going to fall into another one. I can almost guarantee it. Studies have shown that upwards of 75% of people who leave a cult, and I'm going to include MLMs in this, will either go back or go to another one if they don't get that healing and recovery. And I personally, my own personal opinion is that education is not an option when it comes to this. And I don't mean you have to go get a degree. I don't mean you have to go get a psych degree or something. I just mean you have to, listen to some Robert, like find out what cults are about. Watch some documentaries about cults. You'll see it all there. If you compare those two experiences, I'm telling you, lights will turn on for you. And this is how you get your power back. This is how you get your self-esteem back. This is how you recover from the process of what they did to you in basically destroying your self-esteem and destroying your own sense of self-worth. That's to them, to the guys who run the MLMs, your collateral damage. They don't care. Oh, it's just because for them, it's a numbers game. And they know if they can appeal to enough people over enough time, their bank accounts are solid because they're just taking from yours, right? And they just don't care when you are damaged and no longer good to them. You're the failure. You're the person who couldn't cut it. You're the person who couldn't stick it out long enough, hard enough. You're the one who didn't put it out into the universe with enough oomph. You can run this logic forever on how awful and horrible you are, but that's never been true. So it's just this lie that builds on itself and can snowball in your own head. And it's really best to not go there, not let yourself do that. And believe me, I understand what dejection and bad self-image looks like, sounds, and feels like. I mean, you want to talk about being taken advantage of, right? I mean, growing up in and signing a billion-year contract and dedicating my life to L. Ron Hubbard's nonsense. I mean, my God, I felt like the idiot from Idiotville after I got out of that thing. I just couldn't believe how stupid I felt. But I came to learn it has nothing to do with your intelligence. You're not a stupid person. And you're not a stupid person for falling for an MLM comm that was designed to fool you. That was tailor-made practically to fool you. When people lie to you, it's not your fault. That's an important thing to remember in all of this. Now, later in the recovery, you can kind of look at how, you go from the person who's being lied to the person who's lying to other people, but you're not doing it on purpose. So it's not like you're responsible for all this really bad stuff. You got taken advantage of, you got controlled, and you got out. And recovery from that is acknowledging every one of those points and figuring out how it happened so that it won't happen to you again. And it is possible to get there, and it doesn't have to take a long time, and it doesn't have to take a lot of work. But it does take some work and it does take some time. Otherwise, you're just asking for it to happen to you again.
I wanted to touch on this where you had mentioned, feeling like an idiot, feeling so stupid, like looking back at what you had believed. And in multi-level marketing, a lot of this is on social media. So we'll have our memories come up, and there's like this whole social media addiction anyway. We're just like on our phone and like banging from like Instagram to Facebook to TikTok and back in a cycle. It's like, holy shit, I got to put my phone down. But memories will come up every day on Facebook, and we'll see like, oh no, this is that video I did. Oh no, this is horrible. And then seeing what we believed, it's so I feel like an idiot too. I see trainings. I've like access to trainings that I took in Rank Makers where he's not saying anything. Ray Higdon is not saying a goddamn thing. It's just like this weird circuitous word salad, but then also all this like really like shocking things he likes to, and a trigger warning for anybody. I'm just going to use some of the words that Ray uses. If you've seen any of my content, you know what's coming. But he'll always will pull out Nazi concentration camps, always like abuse, trauma, unaliving yourself. He just like puts that all the time. I look back at those trainings and I remember taking notes. I did live videos on them. I thought it was brilliant. And I'm so blown away. Like when I look back and I'm like, what the fuck did I see? Like I saw reality.
Yeah. Well, there's a funny thing, not to get too deep into the weeds on this, because there's all kinds of, like I said, there's all kinds of science here, but it's a very interesting thing that people are not really aware of how easy they are to fool. And they're not necessarily aware of how they will see things, literally see things that are not there when they want something so bad. How we can hear people's words changes depending on our emotional state. And when we're really pumped and we're really excited and we're really grooved, right, we can have some very odd ideas about what somebody is saying to us or how to interpret what's being given to us. And when we're in a more rational, more chill, you know how it is, you make these impulsive buys or these impulsive decisions in our life. We've all done it. And then you get home and buyer's remorse, right? It's like, oh, what have I done, right? Well, you changed your emotional state is what you did. You got all pumped about it at the store, or the salesperson pumped you up on it and you did it. And then you get home and reality comes crashing in, right? All that's changed. And reality didn't change. You did.
Oh, yeah.
Your head changed and you were able to look at it differently. It's the same car. It's the same product. It's the same whatever, but you're looking at it differently. Why? Because you're in a different headspace, which is why I love giving this out. This is tried and true wisdom. It's nothing original to me, but I like to remind people, if you have any important decision to make in your life regarding you or your family or something you care about, you have got to give yourself a day or 2 or 3 to mull it over, to think about it, because however you feel about it right now in the moment of, oh, I need this in my life, great. If you still feel that way 3 days from now, then it's probably more true, right? But odds are reality will come crashing in, right? And you'll be like, oh yeah, maybe I didn't really need that. Thank God I didn't spend that $10,000 on it, right? Thank God I didn't take out a 3rd mortgage on my house. You'll thank yourself, because your head, your emotions change. That's the one thing we know about every single human being, is that from day to day, minute to minute, hour to hour, we change. We change a lot. And that's a good thing, right? Who wants to have a monotone happiness or a monotone sadness in their life? Both of those would be pure torture. To be happy all the time, right? Like, who wants that? That'd be crazy. So we're supposed to go up and down, and those ups and downs bring clarity to our thinking. They allow us to look at things from a different point of view. And also, of course, the other good advice here is, talk to other people about it. Get their input, because the one thing about other people's input is, guaranteed, is they will think of things you haven't. That's why we have communities, right? So you take advantage of them. You've got all these you've built up a social network for yourself. Use it. And you don't have to follow anybody's advice or direction. Of course, it's always, at the end of the day, it's always your decision. But isn't it nice when people point things out to you that you weren't thinking about? Oh, I hadn't thought about that. They're not being killjoys. They're being your friends, when they're giving you good, solid advice that way. So these are just, comments on this, but there's like I said, there's a lot of science there, but the emotion of it is is a very important thing. I harp on this a lot, you've noticed, because it's how they get you. These things are all about emotional manipulation. It's not about logic. It's not about calculations. It's not about spreadsheets and money. It's about manipulating your emotions. That's how they got you. That's how they kept you in. And when they couldn't do it anymore, that's when you finally woke up. That's basically how it happens. And so when I talk about education post cult or post MLM, I mean learning about this stuff. And it's not hard. You know yourself, you know how you are, but there's words and language and things to learn about yourself and how easy you are. Every human being. I don't just mean you. I mean me too. Everybody. We're so easily fooled because our perceptions fool us. You can see this. There's memes, thousands of them all over the internet about how you can look at something and it looks this way, but it's actually this way. And, you know, all this kind of stuff, right? It's our perceptions fooling us. Our brain fools us all the time. And so is it really any surprise that some people out there would take advantage of how our brain fools us, that they would figure out how that happens and then use that to their advantage? That's what L. Ron Hubbard is. That's what Betsy DeVos is. That's what, you know, these people who run these things, that's who they are. And we are, again, their prey. So we can learn to not be that sheep without having to turn into a wolf. We don't have to be the bad guy either, right? We can just learn, oh, there's wolves, and here's what they look like, and here's what they smell like, and here's what they say. And I'm not going to fall for that again.
When you talked about the emotional, like take 2 to 3 days off before making a decision, I just had another realization is that they have these events at their big annual events with multi-level marketing and also with coaching cults as well. They have this similar ones. So you'll go there and they'll say, they prepare you for this. They say, everybody is going to be so jacked up and you're going to be so excited and you're going to get home and 2 to 3 days later, what are you going to do? You're going to revert back to the uncoachable, low vibrating frequency person that you were before you got here. You need to stay in momentum. You need to keep that energy up. So it's like they're like, make a decision now. If you wait, you're going to lose out. You need to listen to your instincts. It's not your instincts. And then people will they'll offer these like extravagant coaching packages, $10,000, $25,000. Sign up now for Inner K, 100K Inner Circle coaching, or buy your ticket to the next event. Plan what you're going to do. Keep the energy alive after this event. And I hadn't put that together until you had said that.
That's brilliant, because that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's interesting because another tool in their toolbox is re-upping you.
Yeah.
And that re-upping is absolutely vital to their master strategy of controlling you, because again, it's this isolation, manipulation, control. So that you have to get reminders of this. You have to keep getting hit with the feel-good juice. And that's and they are absolutely. See, if you start looking at what they're saying or the things you were just talking about in light of what we've talked about here in this hour, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's all emotional manipulation. It's keeping you revved up. It's keeping you in a place where your frontal lobes aren't thinking. Right? It's more lizard brain kind of stuff. It's more like go, go, go. And that go, go, go. Don't ask questions. Trust your instincts. Trust your gut. That's the last thing you should be doing when you're talking about $10,000 is trust your gut. What are you talking about? Right? This is something I should be researching. I should be knowledgeable about. I should read reviews on. I should find out statistics and results of this, and not just from them. You should be finding out from other places. You know, there's this wonderful little twist they'll give you. Scientology does this too. All the cults do. Of if you want to know what we're about, come to our website, come to our seminars, come to our buildings, and we'll tell you. And we're the source of all the knowledge there is to know about this. Don't go reading those reviews. Don't go on the internet. Don't go look at this stuff. They don't know what they're talking about. Come to the source. That hooks so many people, because it's actually incredibly bad logic. If you want a well-rounded look at something, you have to look at the reviews. You've got to look at both sides. And that's what you'll do if you give yourself a day or two, right? But they know that. They know this. They're putting all of this there to stop you from doing the things that they know will blow their cover. And as long as you're cooperative, they own you.
I'm just realizing this as well. We were also coached. So many of us are told not to mention your company name. You're coached on how to be deceptive and why it's so important, because anybody can write negative stuff out there on the internet. You want, like you said, you want to come to the source. And I would say this. I was such an obnoxious asshole. I'd be putting this, people are like, why won't you say the name? Be like, I'll send you a DM. And I parroted what I was coached, like a good little cult member. It's like, well, if I were to say the name of this company, you would go out and do your own independent research. And you'd probably go find the product and you'd either purchase it from eBay or Amazon. And I would never even have a clue. And I should have had credit for that. Or you're going to come across some disgruntled member of this MLM that just didn't have what it takes. And they were just uncoachable and they just gave up too soon. And you're not going to get the accurate information. So that's why I'm actually doing you a favor by not letting you know what the name of this company is. So you can come directly to the source and find out the real information.
Yeah, nailed it, right? That's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. And and of course we can sit here now after the fact and laugh at our, silliness, at our gullibility with that. And yet we were absolutely fervent. We were totally passionate about it, right? We were 100% sold on the product. That's us being the product.
Yeah, that is.
Because now we're trying to create other people who are 100% sold on the product, and that's the product, right? So it's hilarious and tragic at the same time, because this stuff is it's really powerful. This is not light grade stuff. This is heavy grade, practically weapon of mass destruction kind of stuff when it comes to psychology and it comes to group manipulation. This is how propaganda works. This is how really bad things in history have happened. It's the same stuff. It's just being used to sell soap rather than, other more violent things. But the same mechanisms are at play, okay? And it's basic psychology stuff. It's really not complicated, and it's easy to understand. You can take this stuff apart really easily. Again, it doesn't require a master's degree to get into the details of this. I don't know. I mean, it's been a years-long study for me just because I'm so fascinated by it. But recovery-wise, few books, some counseling sessions, you get with the right therapist, you can sort some stuff out, because you got to build back that self-image and that self-worth. And whatever that means for you, however you want to go about doing that, that's the path of recovery, past all of this. So that's, in a nutshell, I think what we're trying to accomplish with all of this.
Chris, thank you so much. I just listened to one of your most recent YouTube episodes where it was how cults create evil. And you were talking about neuroplasticity, and then you were like, and this isn't a word, but I'm just giving my opinion about hyperplasticity. And I was actually listening to it yesterday. I'm like, I got to listen to this again. So there's your YouTube and your podcast, your book, such valuable resources for people leaving cults, people interested in cults, and for multi-level marketing. For us, people leaving multi-level marketing, there is still this lack of awareness of what we've even been through. And your channel is such a good resource. So I highly recommend 5 stars, 2 thumbs up if you want to go check out Chris's content. I've just there's stages of what you can take in, because sometimes it's just too much information. Your channel is, I wish I had to come across it sooner, but thank goodness I came across it now. Thanks Xenu, I came across it now.
Yeah, let me say real fast, if anybody wants to go check out my channel, there's a lot there, okay? And some of it's a little hard to find. You'll have to search around. I wish YouTube was a little better with the playlists and figuring out how to categorize the stuff. But let me tell you, I got interviews with psychologists, with sociologists. I got interviews with neuroscientists on my channel. I've been diving deep on this stuff for 10 years. And there is stuff on there about how to talk to people who are still in the cult without pissing them off or making them block you forever. How to recover. We've talked about recovery so much on my channel. I have had psychologists and stuff on, and we've directly addressed this stuff. And everything we talk about, if you see a video on my channel that says how to talk to a Scientologist, just insert how to talk to another MLMer. I mean, it's the same stuff. You see what I'm saying? So while there might be really hyper-specific Scientology stuff in a lot of my videos, the mechanisms and the control stuff and the way they go about controlling you, that's all the same from one place to the next to the next. And so I hope you can take a look at my at the work that I've done and use it to help you in the recovery coming out of these things, because it's all of the same. It's all the same music, even if the words are slightly different from one to the next. Put it that way. So there you go.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Absolutely. Thanks for giving me this platform and opportunity. I hope people see this, and I hope they take advantage of it.